Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today. As Tim said, my name is Vic Turner. I am a field sales engineer with Sage. I've been with Sage for 8 years now. I formerly was also in the partner channel, similar to Alliance Solutions Group, and I've also worked as CFO for a couple of construction companies in my career. Today, we're going to take a quick look at Sage Paperless Construction. I'm not big on PowerPoints, but I'm going to go through a couple of slides just so we can sort of lay out what Sage Paperless is and what it does and the different modules. And then we're going to jump directly into the software and walk you through some of the basic features. And then, like Tim said, I'm going to pop back out. I do want to show you a couple of the mobile applications, and we're going to make sure we allow some time for questions. So anyway, so what does Sage Paperless do? In a nutshell, in the construction offices that I've been in my experience, typical scenarios, invoices come into email, they come into mail through the front door. Multiple copies are made. A copy is made for the project manager, a copy is made for the billing file, the job file, vendor file. All these copies are made, and then we get into the month and the vendor wants to get paid. Nobody can find the project manager because he's out on the job site. We're trying to build the job, close the month, and it's a big bottleneck. So Sage Paperless is going to help you. I'm going to show you how Sage Paperless, that's just one of the many things that Sage Paperless can help do. But essentially, it allows you to store documents where there's one copy. It's secured by password, so sensitive documents, only certain people can see them. It has a really nice credit card management feature where you can capture receipts in the field on a phone app, and they feed back into the office where you can download credit card transactions and match them up. And it's essentially a data archiving warehouse where you can retrieve a document if you know anything about that document. But there's one copy, we always know where it's at, and there's a complete history of that document. Every time somebody's looked at that document or retrieved it or routed it to somebody. And we have remote access tools for people in the field that so that when the project manager is out there remotely and he gets a message that he has documents or invoice to approve, he can log in through an iPad or through a laptop or whatever on the job site, and he can approve his document. He can see his invoice along with all the supporting documents and approve those. So we're not creating that bottleneck at the end of the month. And then I'll also show you where whether you have Sage 100 Contractor or Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate, those documents then become permanently attached to the back office records. So if I'm looking at a job cost inquiry and I have a question about a dollar amount, I can drill down on that until I see the actual documents that support that transaction. So we'll take a look at that. So briefly, I'd just like to lay out the different components of Sage Paperless. So the very basic component is the Sage accounts payable flow. Pretty much everybody starts out with that module. Documents come in the front door, like I mentioned earlier, or through email, or even posted out on an FTP site. And Sage Paperless has a feature where it's set up with what we call a listener, where it looks at those locations for documents that are coming in, and it then notifies a gatekeeper. That's the person on the front end of this process that you'll see in a minute. That there's documents to process, and that person can then pull up those documents, can enter match them up against purchase orders that are back in Sage 100, Sage 300, and then route them to approvers, and the system knows who to send those to based on routing rules. So it might know that, for job 0301, Vic Turner is the project manager, so he's the approver, but if it's over $5,000, it also has to go to Tim Borio, that sort of thing. So very flexible routing rules. Then we have the document routing, which is really the same exact thing, but it's for all of our other documents. So, for example, human resource documents, legal documents, job photos, closeout documents, anything you can store on your computer, you can store in this vault, even Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, and even emails. And they get stored in the vault where they can be retrieved if you know something about that document. But that's for everything other than AP flow. So the invoices come in and purchase orders and related lien waivers and so forth through AP flow, but job photos, human resource documents can also be scanned in and stored and routed, and they're secured like I said, with passwords, so only the proper individuals can see those. But once those documents are approved, they become attached to those records in our back office. So that's what we call the on-premise portion of the Sage Paperless. In addition, we have cloud products. So, for example, eCapture. The superintendent's in the field. He needs to go up to Home Depot to buy something for the job. So he buys something on his credit card. He takes his phone. His phone is dynamically connected. He's got an app on his phone called eCapture. And he says, okay, I'm at Home Depot. And he's scrolling through his phone through the jobs. He taps, he said, okay, for this job, I'm using this credit card. This is the dollar amount. And then eCapture says, okay, take a picture of that and take a picture of that. And it then routes that through the cloud back into the back office and through the approval process and ultimately attached, just as if it were entered and routed to the back office. So that's one of our applications called eCapture that resides on a smartphone. We have an eForms tool, which is a custom form design tool, so safety checklist, job startup list, whatever. Any of these unique forms to your business that you want to design, they also can be available for a tablet, and they also can be connected to the database. So if I'm filling out a job startup form that I've created, I pull it up on my iPad. I can then pull up a list of jobs, say it's for this job, pull up the cost code or the whatever employees that were on the job, whatever the case may be. It stores it on that form, and that form can also be routed, and it becomes attached to the back office. So we have an ePortal. ePortal is for those project managers who are out in the field who get a notice that they have invoices to approve. They can log in through a tablet or through if they're in a job trailer, through a laptop, and they can see what invoices have been routed to them, not only the invoice, but the supporting documentation. So if it's a sub-pay request, they can see the subcontract agreement, lien waivers, even maybe certified payrolls if you require them from that sub because it's a prevailing wage job. So that's our ePortal. So those are all of our web products, web-based products. So one other product that I'll mention, and it really comes in on the front end, is our Abby Flex Capture. That's a new application that we just added, which is an intelligent OCR recognition tool. So as you're scanning in documents or bringing them in through email, Abby looks at those documents, and the first time it sees a new document, it uses artificial intelligence to determine where the vendor number, where the date, where the job number, purchase order, whatever the case may be. And then it says, is this correct? And you correct it if you need to. From that day on, it knows exactly how to remember that document, and it will never ask you again. And so when the document comes into the flow here, it'll already be coded for all of those values. So anyway, what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go ahead and jump into the software. We'll come back in towards the end of this so that I can show you a couple more slides relating to mobile applications, and I'm going to pull up the Sage Paperless. So what you're seeing on your screen here is a desktop for Sage Paperless. Now, I'm the administrator for Sage Paperless, so I can do anything. So I've got a lot of options here, and I can build out a custom dashboard that gives me alerts when things, if I've routed something to somebody and said, notify me when they approved it or whatever. I can see little dashboards here for invoices that are in that process of being approved, but maybe haven't been posted back to the back office yet. So I can see them by vendor, by document type. So if I have both the AP flow and the doc route, I want to see, okay, punch lists, RFIs, job photos, literally any kind of document you can store on your computer, you can store and route using Sage Paperless. So I'm going to wear a couple of hats. Right now, I'm wearing the hat of the administrator. I'm also the person on the front end of this process that is notified there's documents to be routed to individuals for approval and stored in the vault here. So then we'll play the role of the approver, so you can see how it looks to the approver. And then the final step is the posting of those once they've been approved, where they show up in the case of an accounts payable invoice and accrued accounts payable, job costs. You can see it on the vendor record. If you look in Sage 100, Sage 300, you can see the images or in job cost reports. And we'll take a glimpse at that while we're going through this. So I'm that first person, and what I would do is go into Invoice Entry. Now, this works exactly the same whether you have a Sage 100 Contractor or a Sage 300 CRE. This replaces the data entry in either one of those products. So you're not doing anything twice. So I've got an invoice here for a subcontractor, and I'm going to enter that. And so this is my entry screen. And this screen can be customized too. You can change the properties of the fields, rearrange them, hide fields, display fields. But this is the header record of my AP invoice. So right now I'm telling it, okay, who's the vendor? And it's actually looking up in the back office that vendor, my vendor list there. Invoice number. So it's going to check for duplicate invoices, so forth. Description, date, give it today's date, due date, and amount. And we'll say that this sub is drawing, it's going to draw $2,500 against this subcontract agreement with this invoice here. So turn my numeric lock on my computer here. Okay. Okay, so I filled out the header portion of this. Now I need to distribute it to a job. So I could just say, okay, let me start coding it to a job, so forth and so on. You know, so here's the distribution portion of this. But I happen to know that I should have a commitment out there. This is a sub pay request. I should have in Sage 100 or Sage 300 a subcontract agreement that relates to this. So I'm going to tell it, go pull up my list of subcontracts, and it's going to do a lookup here back into Sage 100, Sage 300 for this vendor. And it just so happens for this guy, I only have one, but I may have a whole list, and I would pick the subcontractor or the purchase order that this applies against. And it's going to show me that document. And so there's the subcontract amount, any change orders, previous applications, so forth and so on. And I'm just going to say select that. And now I'm matching up the commitment to the accounts payable invoice, just like you would if you were entering this in Sage 100 Contractor or Sage 300 Contractor. So in the bottom here, you can see it's pre-filled, everything that it needed to get from the commitment record itself. Now I can do other things here. I can look at a vendor history of prior invoices while I'm in here. So these are all prior invoices for this vendor. I can add a new vendor if I want to, or add a secondary vendor if I need to. I also might want to say, okay, show me any other documents in the vault that relate to this. When I click on this image, the system is, number one, it's going to give me a warning. So you're going to see this. This is doing all of the checks and balances that would occur if you're entering this in your back office Sage products. So lien waivers that are missing, vendor certificates of insurance that have expired, any kind of compliance item that you require from your subs, you can set up to get warnings for. So it's warning me. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to send a note when I route this to, have them call before they approve it and get a current certificate. But I'm telling you, look in the vault now and match this up against any other images that you may have that relate to this. So what it's done here in the background is it's actually found some documents that relate to that. So let me pull a couple of those over. So here it found the subcontract agreement, the image. And it also says, okay, there's other documents that might relate to this. And so, yep, there's the lien waiver. So I want to attach that as well. Now these three documents are permanently tied together in the vault. So anytime I see one, I can see the other. So as I route this to someone for approval, they have everything they need to approve the document here. So I'm just going to close this window here. Now, as the AP entry person, I could approve and post this right now. So if this were just like a utility bill, and I'm the person who's responsible for posting, general administrative expenses, I don't have to route this. I can post this record right now. I don't have to do anything else. But because this is a sub-pay request, I want the system to tell me who to route this to for approval here. So the next thing I'm going to do is just click on my route invoice. So I would continue to just enter these invoices one at a time. And once again, I'm getting all kinds of warnings here that are reflected from some of the triggers we have set up in our back office there in our Sage 300 or Sage 100 Contractor. And I'll say, okay, yeah, I'm aware of that. And the next thing it's going to do it's going to say, okay, well, Vic Turner, just so happens me, I'm the approver, but it could be somebody else. It looks at the job number to determine who to route it to. And it could be look at the GL number. So you could have routing rules that say this range of general ledger account numbers, or if anything that's over a certain dollar amount gets routed to people, you can need multi-layered routings. It's also, as you can see, keeping a history here of the compliance items. So for this day on, anytime I retrieve this from the vault, I'm going to know who touched it, any warnings that I got, and I'm going to go ahead and add a note for the approver here saying, please call for current certificates. And I can even tell the system to notify me when that's been done. So now the approver is going to get this notice. I could even, since I know this, maybe the project assistant is responsible, I could add another approver here on the fly here so that that person maybe needs to get it first before it goes to Vincent so that they can get the compliance documents. So you can make this as simple or as complex as you wish. I'm just going to say route. So I've brought in a document, I've seen related images, and I've routed it now. And now the person who's responsible for approving this is going to get an email. We'll probably send one a day instead of every time. But somebody's going to get a notification. And by the way, we set rules, or you set rules on those that say a person can only have they have 3 days to approve an invoice. And after 3 days, if they don't, the system automatically sends an email to their supervisor or whatever. So there's all sorts of really nice checks and balances. So it's just pulling up my next invoice here where I would enter it and route it. So I'm just pulling up documents, entering and routing them. So that's the first leg of this process. So I'm going to take that hat off now, and I'm going to wear the hat of the person who's the approver. So that person has gotten an email, and that person may have a very simple menu with very limited options on it. It may just be have your company logo on it, and these are the only things that this person has the security to do here. So that person is going to log in and say, I want to approve invoices here. And a window will pop up, and here's the invoices. So here's that invoice that we just routed. And now I can do a couple of things here. I could just say approve this, okay? I can see all the distributions down here. And by the way, you can route an invoice. You can give permissions to change the coding. I've got that locked down on here because this came from all this distribution came from a commitment. We don't really want the project manager to change that. But if this was an invoice that wasn't matched up against a commitment like a portalet or a dumpster, and I want the project manager to code it, when I routed it, I could have left part of the cost code off of there, or I could have left anything off of there and routed it to them. And this person could then choose the job and the GL number and the cost code and so forth and so on. But only when this has been completely coded with valid information is it going to get posted back to my Sage 100 contractor or my Sage 300 contractor. So I've got to notice that I had documents to approve. I see my documents here. I could just click on approve, but I want to say, you know what, I want to make sure we've got what we need from this person. So I'm going to look at the document matches. I'm going to tell the Paperless, show me any documents in the vault that are related to this. And so now as the approver, I can see that. I can see those documents there. And so now I have what I need to do to make a decision to post those. I can even, you can even have the person put in a signature stamp if you want. This lives with the document, maybe even some other stamps. These come with the system, but you can customize them or whatever. So I can do a lot of things with this document. I could reject it. I could change the coding on it. I could send it back to the first person. I could put it on hold. There's any number of things I can do, but in the normal process, I would just click on it and say, okay, approve this invoice and let's rock on here. And we'll pull up the next invoice and do the same thing with the next invoice. So I've emptied my inbox as the approver, okay? So that is what the second person in this process does. Now, if I'm in the field, I mentioned that we have some remote options. So I'm going to get out of Sage Paperless here. I'm just going to minimize it. And I'm going to go out to the web here, and I'm going to show you our UPortal application. So if I'm one of those approvers, and I happen to be out on the job site here, I can log in, like I said, on a tablet or on a laptop or whatever, and I can see those documents here. So anything I could do in the back office, I can do through the web here. If I'm on a tablet, I actually can, you can, it responds to the type of, in fact, I'll show you what it looks like on a tablet here. So if I were on an iPad, this is what it might look like. And I can even change the view a little bit to what we call a card view. So there's my invoices. So if I click on this invoice here, then it's going to open it up. And now I can see, okay, here's my supporting documents down here. I can see the distribution. I can see whatever I need, any issues that went along with the document. So I can just approve it or reject it or whatever. So this is how we would do that approval in the field. So that's just another example here of some of the tools that we have available. It just makes everything more efficient. Everybody's remote these days. So we've brought these documents into the vault, and we've routed them. I mentioned there's a third step here. So these have all been routed. They've been approved. Now let's post them to the system. So there's a third process, and this is very likely the very first person that routed them would come in and say, show me all of the approved invoices here, and post them. So now I can sort these by date, because maybe they aren't all going to the same posting period. So I can sort them, and I can say, okay, well, these three here, I want to export to, whatever appropriate month, because maybe I'm at the end of the month and I've got invoices for the tail end of one month and the beginning of another. So this is the final step. This is where they get posted. And by the way, if any of you are currently using the Sage 100 Contractor, what this gives you the ability to do is route 100 contractor invoices for approval that aren't fully coded, so that the project manager can code them before they get posted to the back office. So that really extends the capability of the Sage 100 Contractor. So that's the AP flow process. We saw where the system would monitor all of these various places, emails, FTP sites, scan documents go in. They all land in a folder. Somebody's notified. That person then is responsible for entering routing these. We saw the approver, and then we just saw the invoice manager where they actually get posted. So how do I find a document if it's in the vault? So I can retrieve, if I know anything about the document here. So let's say I want to know about, I know it's an accounts payable document, and I know it's related to, say, Barth Electric. So if I can come down here and I can say, show me everything in the vault, then I can filter this by checking it. And I could just say invoices, but I want to see all the accounts payable documents that relate to, say, Barth Electric here. So I'm going to look up Barth Electric, and I'm going to say, show me all the documents that relate to that. So now here's all of the documents that relate that I have stored in the vault. And if I click on this column heading, I can sort them by type. And if I hover over the document, an image will pop up of that document, so I can see, what the document is. We can even store, so here's a lien waiver. But I also mentioned we can do, job photos and all sorts of things. So with the document routing, if I had scanned in and routed just any type of document, I'm going to say, show me all the documents in the vault here. And I'm going to clear out all my filters here, and we'll say, let's reset this and say, show me all document types. These are all document types. I sort it here. So here's for example, a human resource document where I've scanned that in. Only people with the proper security can get to these documents. But the key is, all I need to know is something about that document. If I know nothing about the document, maybe I just know the date. I can put in a date range. If I'm doing a time and material billing, I want to pull up all of the related back office documents for that billing period. Think about this. I can do a search on that. I can pull up all the supporting documentation. Instead of printing copies of those and paperclip and guess what? With our CD Plus tool, I can send all of these out as an electronic image with a free copy of this search tool, and send the link by way of email here to anybody on our, and it didn't like me doing that because I don't have my CD Plus set up right now. But if you have the CD Plus and you say send it to there, you have to tell it, you have to do a setup, tell it where you want to send it, FTP site or whatever, and or you can store it on a thumb drive. And so job closeout documents, job progress photos, invoices. But this is the way that I come into the system to find out anything that I need to know, or any document that I need to find. If I know something about it, I can find it. So that's kind of a high level of the AP routing, and the way that it gets approved, the approval process, and how they get stored. So what do they look like on the back office? So I'm just going to jump into Sage 300 real quick. This is our Sage 300 job inquiry. So I'm looking at my jobs here, and I say, okay, show me any documents related to this job or this transaction. So since I have Paperless installed, it's opening up a link to the Sage Paperless Vault. And when I click on this, it's going to check my security to see what documents I have privileges to see, and anything that's related to that transaction. When I selected that, is going to pull it from the vault and show it to me. So what it's done now, these are all documents over here on the right-hand side with their images. This is how they show up in the back office records. So I just was looking at a job inquiry. I clicked on the job number in the paperclip, and I said, show me everything related to this job number. Well, look at this. Here's all the various documents, whether they're accounts payable or not. So once again, if you have the document routing as well as the AP flow, you can even store drawings and photos and really, like I said, anything, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, whatever. So I don't have to be logged into Sage Paperless to do this. I'm in my accounting system. I'm looking at something. I want more information about it. I click on the paperclip. It opens the vault, checks my security, and shows me what I have privileges to see. So information at my fingertips. If I was more granular on a cost transaction, I was doing like a cost to complete review as a project manager with my senior project manager. We could go through line items of that, and we could click on the items in the paperclip and have it show us the documents that relate to that. So, all right. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to jump out of this, and I'm going to come back into our PowerPoint presentation just briefly to talk about just a few of these mobile apps, and then we'll open up the chat log, or hopefully some of you have been jotting down any questions you have in your chat log, and Tim is going to read those off, and we'll see which ones we can answer here. So this is the eCapture that I mentioned. So a superintendent goes up to Lowe's or Home Depot or Gray Bar or whatever the case may be, and they buy something with their credit card. So in this case, he says, okay, I just bought something with my credit card. This is going to be a credit card receipt. Now, on my app, I'm telling it, okay, and I'm connected. My phone is connected to the database in the back office, and I'm telling you, okay, this is the job. So this is that scroll feature on your mobile device. I scroll through and pick the job, pick the vendor, type in the dollar amount. If I want to type in a description, I can speak into the microphone here. So it uses that microphone feature of your smart device. Then I take a picture of it. I hit the submit button, and boom, it goes back into Sage Paperless process, just as if this had been done from a scanner in your back office. I can also upload job photos from that same app. So I'm walking the job, something looks funny about it. I need to take a picture of it, email it to somebody with commentary. I can do that. Receiving tickets for materials that are received on the job. And once again, these get matched up with the invoices as they're in the purchase orders as they're coming in. Picture of just an invoice, just a plain old invoice itself. This is our eForms. This is a picture of our eForms tool. And people use it for all kinds of things. Job startup, checklist, whatever. This is just a custom form that was created. And once again, it's connected to my back office. So as I'm filling out that form, I'm looking up jobs or employees or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of a high level overview of some of the capabilities of Sage Paper. There's much, much more, and we'd be happy to share this in a one-on-one demonstration with anybody. But just to kind of recap, it's a fast, easy way to access your documents, and they're secured. So you don't have sensitive human resource documents laying around on somebody's desk or misfiled. You can always find something too, by the way. So you don't have the storage problems that you have with a room full of filing cabinets. You don't have misplaced documents. You don't have sensitive documents laying around where they shouldn't be seen. You know whoever has touched the document or who has seen the document or done anything with it, what's been done. If you have our OCR piece, it will fill in a lot of that information on the front end. We've got the remote capabilities. You can store virtually any kind of image, including spreadsheets, living spreadsheets, by the way, in Word documents. So there's a spreadsheet that you use that you want other people to fill out, and you can route it to people to fill out. It actually stores it in its native Excel, and when you pull it back out in Paperless, it actually opens up Excel in that document in Excel when you open it up. So once again, highly secure. All the documents are restricted by role and document type, and those documents then become permanently attached to the back office accounting records once they've been routed and approved. So I'm going to stop right now, and I'm going to ask Tim to just kind of open up the chat log here and just see if anybody had any questions that they might like to ask.
Yep, I'm back, Vic, and we do have one question right now. This question is from James. Is it possible, is it possible for subcontractors or vendors to deliver pay apps or invoices via Sage Paperless?
Yes, James, the way that you would do that, and this is the way I've seen customers do it, you set up a Dropbox folder for those people that are secured for them, and you send them the link to that. Sage Paperless can be set up in the background to constantly monitor that Dropbox folder. And anytime a document lands in that folder, so lien waivers, certified payrolls, whatever documentation you need from them, license agreements, if they go out and put it in that folder, then Sage Paperless will automatically see it the minute it lands in that folder, and it will pull it in and notify that person on the front end that, hey, there's new documents that have come in that need to be routed. So that's to me, that's one of the best ways to do that. But you can also route these documents, and I didn't mention this in the presentation, but if I'm in the field using the eCapture tool, and I'm going to briefly open this up, I can actually take an image here and I can start a document route. So I could take a photo of something in the field with my iPad, and I could say, okay, I want to route this to somebody outside of my company. And so these are items that I've already routed to other people, but I'm standing on the job site. Once again, I see something that doesn't match up. I download the shop drawing or the drawing. I take a photo of it. I type in there, hey, this doesn't look right. I want to send that to somebody, so I can actually create a new document. Plans don't match. Maybe they're asking me to penetrate a firewall. Firewall penetration. And I can take a picture of that. I put notes in here. I can check off who it is. If they're not somebody I've sent it to before, I can put in their email address. I can then pull that document into my Paperless here, and then what I do, and I'm doing all this from an iPad here, by the way. So if I was just to flip back to my iPad here, and then I just tell it, hey, create an index for this. An index is nothing more than identifiers for that. So what is this document? Well, this happens to be a job photo. Okay, so these are all the different. So we saw how an invoice got put in with the vendor number and so forth. Other documents have to be identified. So if I'm putting a document into the vault and I'm doing this one from my iPad here, I just tell it, okay, what is this? What document type is it? And so I can then scroll through all of my different document types, and I can say, okay, well, this is a job photo, and then tell it what job it is, and so forth, and then route it to somebody. so once again, it's looked back into my back office, and I can then route it to people outside of my firm, and then it'll come back into the vault, and they might have attachments. So, once again, in this situation, James, of your vendor, your subcontractor, you could send him a document, and then once he got it, he could attach all of his supporting documents and send it back. So that would be another way to get that information from your sub. So anyway, long answer to a short question. So Tim, are there any others there that have questions?
Yes, I had a question. Have we ever seen anyone integrate Sage Paperless with DocuSign?
Absolutely. We actually integrate with DocuSign. If I probably should have pointed that out, but when I was in this, when I was in my UPortal here, and I'll just close this, there's our DocuSign button. So once I create this document, if I want to send it out through DocuSign, I just click on DocuSign, and then it sends it out and routes it through to the DocuSign. So great question. I'm glad you asked that.
All right. The next question is, what is the process for selecting invoices for payment?
That is the back office function of your Sage 100 Contractor or your Sage 300 CRE, and be more than happy to walk anybody through that, given this is a Sage Paperless demonstration. So what we've done with Sage Paperless is we've pushed all those back into our back office Sage 100, Sage 300. Now we would log into those products, because now they're an accounting transaction, they're an accrued accounts payable, and there's all sorts of tools in our Sage 100 and our Sage 300 to select those for payment.
Okay, we are caught up on questions. If anybody does have additional questions, now's a good time to get in. Take care, Vic.